We've got... look at how they're holding the splatter shot. That's a funny animation. What? Okay. I love how the frame rate is still really low. Like, did they say that this is not representative of actual gameplay? Then why didn't they give him more frames? Alright. So this is a new map. And in typical Nintendo fashion, we don't get a good view of it. But we've got new Dapples, so Dapples Nouveau. This is the standard Splattershot Pro. And then we've got this new shooter. I don't know what niche this thing fills, because it looks exactly like a Splattershot Pro from what little I've seen of it so far. But we'll take another look at that and maybe try and compare it to what we can see in the training room. And then we've got the Pencil Charger, which we'll talk about a little bit later because it shows more definitive information on it. Then we've got new Luna kits. We've got the T-Tech, which has a Splat Bomb. And I'm very excited, but if it doesn't have Inkjet, I'm going to be disappointed anyway. And then we've got the new Mini Kit. And then this, I don't know if this is a new roller. I need to take a look at the other roller and see. Because it looks like it might actually be a little bit different. If we look at this roller, like we look at the shape of it and the design of it and whatnot, this definitely is different, like visually, from this. This one's got like a sort of clothespin looking thing that there just isn't on the other one. So here's the T-Tech. And this is where we find out it's got a Splat Bomb, and this is where I rejoiced a little bit inside. Now, not knowing what the special is, we still don't really know too much about this kit, but I'm glad that there is a splatter shot with a Splat Bomb, and if the special is fine, then I will use it. But we have not seen it use Inkjet yet. So, like, this thing. This looks like Splattershot Pro range, and this looks like about Splattershot Pro... like fire rate. And also, like, we have this on a map that we don't have in the game yet, so it's really hard for me to tell, like, what the range is here. But for a quick comparison, here is what the Splattershot Pro looks like. Now, this is a bit of a different camera angle than we're getting, so it's kind of hard to see. But going back, this is what this weapon looks like. So it's like, it looks the same, right? It really looks the same. Squeezer Pro? Yeah, it's like, we already have the Squeezer, we already have the Pro, they're already very similar weapons that compete for the same niche, and now we've got another mid-range shooter? I don't know. Now this thing, does this look wider to you? Does this look wider than another roller? It almost seems like the trail is a little bit bigger. Like, is that bigger? I don't know. It seems less likely now that I'm looking at this. We're going from here to here. I don't know. Maybe it's just the camera angle, you know? Maybe that's making it look like it's wider than it is. But it seemed like just a little bit off to me. So, again, I can't tell, but this it's weird because it's like, it seems so similar that it's like, what, is there really a need for another weapon like this? But, I mean, with new kits, sure, like, I'm thinking, like, we could get a new kit, and that would be great. But why make a new weapon? So, new stage here. And I'm just, like, really disoriented. This looks like it's probably a spawn area. And if so, then this is a massive choke point, which sucks. It's like, yeah, you can drop over to the right-hand side into a huge pit. That they can just, like, walk 2 steps to the left and guard there as well. So that's not helping you too much. At least you can right-side peek this corner, I guess. But yeah, as soon as you get an opponent who's standing right here, you're kind of out of luck. So we've got the Forge here, we've got the Pro here, we've got the Forge question mark here, we got the new roller here. And we've got these guys who aren't doing any work at all and are just squid partying in their own base while the roller does all the hard work. So, the way this thing works, you can see once you've got charge, look at the reticle, look at the lines around the reticle. There are 5 little segments there. And when it fires, only one of those segments goes away. So, when you get full charge, you get all 5 shots. It's like a repeating rifle. It takes 2 shots to splat. So in theory, off of 1 charge, you've got 2 splats, 2.5 splats. But I don't know. It would seem that you would need, and you can see here, there's a magazine feeding this thing. And so, as long as you can stand still and keep firing, you've got enough in the tank to fire 5 shots. But they don't one-shot, and it's unclear how much charge hold there is here. So, I think it's a neat addition to it. So, range is difficult to judge on this thing. Because again, we're playing on a map that we don't know yet. But this looks like pretty close to charger range. This looks, I think, longer than a bamboo. Right? Where's the laser? How far does the laser... Yeah, see, this shot is going off screen. So this looks like it's still very much like charger range. Pretty long range. More so than like a bamboo or a squiffer. This is not like a midline weapon. But that's from looking at it from a weird camera angle that it's difficult for me to say anything about. So here's this map. And here is Flounder Heights. So we're getting Flounder Heights on this update. So I did not play this map ever in Splatoon 1. I've played Splatoon 1 for about 2 hours. So I don't know to what extent this differs from the map layout that it had previously. Splatoon 1 people will, have to inform me. But Chara was saying that it looked pretty similar, so I'm happy with that. X Battles being here is huge and needed. We need some kind of system for ranking people that is gonna actually matter and not be based just on like the letter rank that is usually going to increase anyway. Like there are definitely people who are getting stuck at certain ranks right now, but once you hit about S+, you're kind of just likely to increase in rank after a certain point. Like, once you're able to not be in debt in S+, once you're able to, like, hang there, you're going to be able to get it to S+50 with enough time. Like, none of the gradations after, like, S+0, S+1 or so matter that much, because you're just kind of getting rank ups for playing longer is sort of how that works. X Battles give people much more meaningful goals to work towards at especially the higher levels of ranked. And if this is purely based on Glico like it was in Splatoon 2, this is going to mean a lot more than your letter rank in series. So I'm excited for this. Okay, so Mini. I think it was Toxic Mist Big Bubbler that we've confirmed we have here. Yeah, they just popped that Big Bubbler and they just threw that Toxic Mist. So that confirms the entire kit of the Mini. And to be clear, we already have, where was it? Was it this? Yeah, it's this. So we already have this right here. This is already like, yeah, let me zoom in a little bit on that. There we go. So this is something that Beta put together, who was a TO and very important community member. They came up with all of these from what we saw in the trailer, and I'm assuming that these are accurate until I'm shown otherwise. But there was one slight inaccuracy that they made later on. They assumed that an angle shooter was thrown by the charger, when in fact it was... a point sensor was thrown by the charger, when in fact it was definitely thrown instead by the new shooter, which Chara confirmed using the amount of ink that the sub-weapon took, because you can see the line on the back of their ink tank. So the shooter is the one that has the point sensor, and this is actually a less updated version of what Beta put up there. So reason I put all that out there is that there was one thing that Beta got wrong, so... I'm assuming that this is correct until we see otherwise, but that we have seen otherwise in at least one case so far. But that is what the things are looking like there. So that's just the mini kit. There's nothing new about that. We got the Dapples here, which have Torpedo. I'm going to go out and say this is already the best Dapple Doolies kit that I think we've ever had. That's a strong claim, because people are seeing some use out of the Dapple Doolies like that currently are in the game, but they have a sub-weapon that can poke, and they are guaranteed 100% to not have splashdown like the last Torpedo kit that the Dapple Doolies had. So... whatever it is that they end up giving this thing, it's probably going to be the best kit that the Dapples have ever had, and that will be really interesting to see. Now, they could be really lame and just give it, like, Rain again or something like that, but a lot of the weapons that had Splashdown in Splatoon 2 have just been given Reef Slider, and that's kind of been the replacement for them in this game. So, if that ends up being the case, then we have Dapple Doolies with Torpedo Reef Slider. That kind of works. That's something that I feel like these weapons can use. Especially since, like, they're still going to be vulnerable at the end of the Reef Slider, but they're going to be less vulnerable than, like, most other weapons, because they're going to be able to roll right away. And their roll is even more extreme in terms of speed and throwing your aim off than the Tetris rolls are. FLC puts it like, the Dapple's roll is not a roll, it's a teleport. You're just going to be from point A to point B instantly, like in one frame. And obviously the roll doesn't take one frame to go through, but it's going to move you in discrete chunks because the roll is so fast. And so, like, this is one of the it's like having drop roller, basically. Is it the safest thing? No, but it's safer than having nothing. And this weapon now has that. That wouldn't be a bad option for it. Now, obviously, a Dapples player probably prefers to have one of the more powerful specials right now. A Booyah Bomb, is something they would probably really like, because it can keep itself alive in engagements that way. There are a lot of options that you could give this thing that would be powerful, but even if it's mimicking that kit, I could see this being pretty solid. So that was definitely a weapon that needed another kit. It needed a way to poke, and it finally has that. Luna Blaster, I think we saw, had Fizzy. Yeah, it has Fizzy Bomb, and then we don't know what special it's got, but this could easily just be Fizzy Bomb and Rain. It could be the Kensa Luna kit that came from Splatoon 2, which was basically never played, because why would you play the Luna Blaster with the Fizzy if you could play, like, the machine with a Fizzy? It's a weirdly supportive kit to give a Luna Blaster. I guess this kind of lets it paint for itself a little bit more, which is nice. Like, being able to paint for itself is cool, but it's very conspicuous paint. Like, you're causing 3 explosions in that area. It's not like you're going to sneak through this. It's not like you can, like, drop a curling bomb out and slip through it very quickly. It's not that kind of painting for yourself. I guess it's nice to be able to throw a single charge fizzy and work with it that way, because that does kind of work like a curling bomb does. So it helps it a little bit with mobility. It helps it a little bit with paint. But if they just give it like the Inkstorm kit again, it's stuck in this weird position where it feels like it's a support weapon, even though it can't paint. And you'd rather just have something else than in that case. Who knows? You know, if they give this like a more aggressive special, then this could actually be really interesting. Like maybe give it like a Trizuka so that it has an option to paint, it has an option to shark, and it has an option to attack someone from much longer range. Like, I think all of those would be really interesting choices for the Luna Blaster to have, and that might make it more versatile than it has been thus far in Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 3. But we'll have to see. And then the rest of this, I think, is just all big run stuff. Which I don't want to completely disregard. This trailer is sick, by the way. It's like, we're assembling all of our secret agents. They're running through the back alleys to assume their secret identities as well, they're all wearing waterproof gear and like rain boots and stuff, but it's cooler than it sounds. So we've got positioning of egg baskets, and it looks like they are using like more of the map, which is really cool. Like, Wahoo World honestly has potential to be a cooler Salmon Run map than it is a multiplayer map. And I just love the idea that it's normally like an amusement park, but it's been overrun by and scorched by the war against the salmonids. And squeeze. So before it was Big Run is coming, now it's Big Run is imminent. So what does that mean? I don't know. Let's go back in and see if there's like anything more that we can see by like going through this slowly. So this is where the tower is, and the tower path goes to the right and then back to the left. Is this in the middle of the map? We did see a super jump come in here, and this could actually give us a really good view of what the map looks like. This is going down the right side of mid from Flounder Heights. So spawn is here, and all of this area looks uncontestable, so you can get up to the top right, and you could go down all the way to the left, so fairly wide spawn area. Are these two areas at a different elevation from each other? Oh, yeah, okay, so I think you have to go up here and then up this ramp to come around to the left. So this area looks really difficult to spawn camp. And then this is a snipe area that's just completely uncontestable, it looks like, from the front. Unless there's like a wall right here. And then there's a rail that gets you someplace into mid. I think we see this little joint here in the rail. I don't know much else about where that rail goes. But this is all unpaintable. Okay. So dropping out to the right-hand side as the defending team here looks really safe. Like, it looks like this is just going to be a very free way for a backline weapon to get up into this position and have, like, a sniper nest. Which was a feature of the map. I don't know to what degree it was that safe before, but that looks like it's going to be a really safe way back in, and it's going to take a really dedicated frontliner to go all the way up and around and here and get under this ledge to be able to camp them. It's nice that you still can do that if you get far enough forward. Like, I don't like maps where when you gain an advantage, you just can't move any further forward and you're forced to just sit in the same place. That you can actually move further forward on the map. And that gives you kind of a stretch goal as a frontliner, but it is going to be that. It's going to be really difficult to push into because this whole trench that you have to run through, or, you know, maybe you can drop down from over here or something, but that whole area is going to be pretty heavily contested. So it's not likely that you're going to be able to get here super safely. Yeah, I don't know what this rail is meant to jump you to. And where are they now? This is the defending team on the way down. And they're all clumped up in the same place. A single booyah bomb here would be devastating, but that's neither here nor there. And there's a suction bomb. Okay, so that confirms that that weapon is both suction bomb and booyah bomb. So that's interesting. They took two elements from Splattershot Pros and combined them into this one. Because the Forge from Splatoon 2 had suction bomb and bubble blower, and the Kensa Splattershot Pro from Splatoon 2 had splat bomb and booyah bomb. So this is kind of a hybrid of those two things. I think this is a somewhat worse kit for it than the Splatoon 2 Kensa Pro, because the K Pro was able to play a lot more aggressively with the splat bomb. If you're going to put a suction bomb on it, it wants to play a little bit more supportive. If this had a lot more paint, I would really like the suction bomb, because then it could play safely and it could paint for booyah, and it could throw the suction bomb to stall the objective. I still feel like this doesn't really have that much of a niche. Like, K-Pro itself was falling off pretty hard towards the end of the Splatoon 2 meta, largely because it was having to compete with the K-Gal, which just had a better main weapon in general, painted better, and splatted faster. It had a little bit less range, but not by that much. And the sub-weapon really synergized with it so well for taking fights. There was just not that much of a reason to run a K-Pro over a K-Gal. And here, I feel like there's not that much reason to run this Pro over a sloshing machine. Because you're thinking like, okay, we want a booyah bomb, we want a midline weapon. Which one do we go with? It just has too much synergy with that sub-weapon on the sloshing machine. And the range is too similar. Like, I'm not sure I see that much of a use case for this thing. The use case for this thing is like, you have a player who is good at shooters and is not that great at sloshing machine, and they want to run booyah bomb. That's feels like about it, and that's not even that great of a reason, because like, I play shooters and I do fine on the sloshing machine when I try to run that thing. Like, it's a weapon that like anybody can pick up right now. So I'm not sure I see that one being immediately that useful unless it's a different weapon than we think. Has the red pipe. Yeah, and that's not really a pipe. Okay, so they're completely different. So this is not the Forge Splattershot Pro. So what's the difference? What does this thing do that the other one doesn't? It's so hard to tell from this footage. Like, this is the only footage we see of this thing being fired. Maybe it's a little bit more rapid fire? That's definitely an inaccuracy right there. We can, like, look at how accurate the shots are. So maybe this is, like, more of a rapid fire sort of weapon that's a little bit less accurate. Although they are just holding down the trigger, so of course it's going to go a little bit less accurate now. Are they fire... Well, what's the fire rate of this compared to the splatter shot that it's fighting? That's a good question. So let's just count how many shots that they're firing before the splatter shot stops. So 1 for each. Second shot's out for each. What happened there? So it goes 1. Yeah, it looks like they're about exactly the same fire rate. I just can't tell what this thing does that the other doesn't. Maybe it's like longer range, fast fire rate, but less accurate. So it's kind of like a mini, but in shooter form. Definitely a gimmick we can't see from the footage, yeah. It seems like this roller might paint a little bit more widely. So maybe this is gonna be like the painting roller that new players go to, where they're like, I want to just roll around the map because swinging the roller is hard. Like, this is going to be a better option for those players, but, like, maybe it's optimized to be rolled with. Maybe it's, like, faster when you roll or something like that. I don't know. But that looks pretty similar to the run speed of the Splat Roller, and it might just paint a little bit more. Maybe I'm just seeing things. We did look up close up at the roller, and aesthetically it looks different. Like, it's not the same exact design. It's got different plasticky bits on it. So maybe it's a reskin of the Splat Roller, or maybe it's something new entirely. It's hard to say, because they said on the website that they're new weapons. But is the Kensa Splatter Shot and the Tentatek Splatter Shot, those are two different weapons, right? They have different kits, even though they don't have different, I don't know. It's difficult to say right now when we need more details, but so we talked about this thing already. It's a repeating rifle, so you get a full charge like you would with a charger, and that loads it with 5 shots. And then it's difficult to say how you hold those shots, if you move or if you swim or something, but it takes 2 of those shots to splat, and so having 5 of them, that means a single charge gets you 2.5 players if you hit all of them, which would be really cool. It's just a question of, like, are you going to get rushed in that time? Are you going to have to move? In the game state right now, I feel like this is probably a little bit weaker than another charger, because you're probably going to get forced to move. But this thing does have really good range, and it looks like it's not super slow. Like, pew pew. That's a little bit slower than a bamboo. Like, maybe like a 52 if you miss a shot. Not a super fast kill time, but it is very long range, and, you know, if someone's consistent with their aim and they can hit those shots really reliably, you don't have as much of a... One of the things that makes that the bamboo and this weapon unique is that because they have so much less downtime than the other chargers, it's a lot less of a problem if they miss a shot. They can just fire another one really quickly. So it's controlling that space for longer, even if it's controlling it weaker. I think that's going to be a really interesting option that a lot of backliners are going to want to at least consider. But we'll have to see. You know, it has Tacticooler apparently. That's what people were saying, which is not what you want on that thing at all. It is awful. It's a backline weapon, and to use Cooler, it's going to have to, like, run forward to give it to people, or it's going to have to use it for itself. And what does it want to use it for itself for? Like, its whole thing as a backline weapon is not to die. That's not great for it. Hopefully it gets a better kit at some point. I don't think they're going to add a new ranked mode for yet. If they're going to add a new ranked mode, that'll probably come a lot later, because, like, there is just, like, functionality they have already promised that is going to be in the game that is not in the game yet. Like, they're talking about Big Run, talking about X Battles and League Battles. They've already talked about those. Clam Blitz came after all of that stuff, after stuff that, like, we weren't even expecting it, so I imagine that that's going to happen a little bit later on. Biggest win here by far is X Battles being in the game now. X Battles are so important for the state of the game because people have not had a good way to set goals for themselves in solo queue. At a lower level, you can be like, okay, I want to get into S+. But once you're in S+, there are 50 ranks that don't mean that much, that you got to go through one at a time. And, like, once you're able to hang in S+, which... it's not that high up compared to what, like, the S+ was in Splatoon 2. Like, Splatoon 2 S+9 was quite difficult to get up to and get up out of, and to stay up out of. But getting to S+0 in Splatoon 3, I think, is significantly easier than it was to get, like, into from S+9 to X, which was the highest jump that you could make in Splatoon 2. And from there, you were able to, in Splatoon 2, set goals for yourself by Glico Power. And Glico Power is, like, I will defend it to my dying breath in this game. It's a way that you can determine with very good certainty which players are more likely to win matches. And that's what a ranked system is really good for. And that's when it works really well. When you can reliably say, if I have this high of a Glico power, I am around this skill level. That was a really good thing to have, and we've really been missing it. Because I just do not feel like the ranking system in the current game has been a great way of measuring like how skilled you're going to be, how likely you are to win. And maybe it gets better towards the high end. Like, I've cruised through to S plus 25 and have not felt like it is significantly increased in difficulty as I've gone. It's just felt like the same kind of matchmaking that I've gotten anywhere. I could probably look at there are probably some S plus 0 matches that I played that were more difficult than the S plus 25 matches that I've played recently. Maybe that's my subjective experience and they are actually harder or something like that, but I've just had no motivation to climb because it hasn't felt like that number means anything to me. A Glico power means something to me. I know what that means, and I know that like within about 150 points or so on Glico, like I have a strong expectation that that player is more likely to win once they have that many points over someone. This is needed. That's the biggest thing. New weapon classes are huge. If any of those end up being good, that will definitely drastically change the metagame. We have a new weapon that has Booyah Bomb. That's always going to be something to consider. We have Dapples that can poke again, and if they have a decent special, then that's going to make someone like reevaluate that weapon as as an entire thing. Luna Blaster with the right special could be really interesting. The new weapons could definitely shake things up a lot. The new weapons could make it so that we have to learn new playstyles and stuff. New weapon has Booyah Bomb. Dapples have a new kit that might make that weapon a lot more interesting and much less easy to disregard. We've got the new weapon classes that will require us to learn different skills to use them and different ranges and all that interesting stuff. The new shooter, it has a question mark here, but Chara has confirmed based on what was thrown in the scene and how much ink it consumes to get that sub, that the new shooter has point sensor as well as killer whale. Which I think is a pretty not that good kit considering what we're seeing. Like, if it is what I'm thinking it is and it's a higher fire rate but lower accuracy long range or like mid-range shooter, then none of that really works super well with itself. Like, weapons don't really farm for whale. Like, you don't run a support weapon just to get a whole bunch of whales off. And the higher paint output with the point sensor would suggest that this is a more supportive weapon. So you would want this to have something more like a missiles or a Booyah Bomb for it to be like a top tier. Now, I don't want this thing to have missiles. Don't get me wrong here, but that's the sort of playstyle that it would be looking for. If it got Crab Tank, it would be a huge pain in the butt. Slightly longer range shooter. Yeah, my thinking is that the niche for it would be more supportive shooter than like the 52. Because 52 has a lower fire rate than this thing does. Like, this thing shoots as fast as a splatter shot does. I'm not ruling it out. It could be good. Like, Mini is a very similar sort of weapon. That it's a mid-range, like, to longer range weapon that can play a little bit aggressively, but doesn't have quite as much accuracy, which means it paints better. And so as soon as it gets a really good special, the Mini is off to the races, and it can just spam that thing into oblivion. And it also puts down a lot of paint, and it still has that aggressive threat. Like, it's a pretty well-rounded weapon in that regard. So this thing could be in a similar place. There's a lot there that will change the game. We've got two new maps. So one that is brand new, it's this thing. And then we've got Flounder Heights that's on its way. 3 new weapons, like main weapons, it's looking like. We've got... look at how they're holding the splatter shot. That's a funny animation. Okay. So it shifts to their other hand is what happens. I've never seen this before. Okay, there we go. The pass is fast enough that they don't really care. What, you were not meant to see this. Yeah, exactly. The logo on the side of the new shooter it's the Tenatech logo, which is a squid eye shape. How do you go by frame on YouTube? It's the comma and period keys. So we've got the brand new main weapons. Then we've got Luna, Forge, the new Mini, T-Tech, and Dapple's Nouveau. So that's 8 new weapons that are going to get added. So that's a lot of stuff that could shake the metagame up that we could, add in and start to consider. And then we're getting Big Run. That's a pretty good update, I think. Hopefully it comes with some new music. They didn't show off new music here, which isn't a good sign for that. Like, when they released the Season 4 trailer from Splatoon, it's Season 4.0, whatever, version 4.0. When they released that trailer, they had, like, new music going along with it. I'm crossing my fingers that there's new music, because the old music does get old if you overplay it, like I have from having been playing the game this much. So that'd be really nice to have, but I mean, I'll always take more Splatoon music, so anytime they want to add any of that would be good and nice and stuff. One really quick thing that is exciting is apparently, and I haven't gone in and clicked into this yet and figured it out, but apparently Splatoon 3 is nominated for Best Multiplayer at the Game Awards. So that would be something to go and vote for. Definitely check that out and kind of confirm all of this. Another category that it's nominated for. Very cool. Which 2 categories? Best Family and Best Multiplayer. Yeah. So definitely go and get that, get Splatoon some attention. That benefits all of us for it to be voted for. Definitely go and check that out. And then also, there are new Nintendo events coming out, and apparently they're adding jackets to the prize pool. So, I mean, not exactly cash prizes or anything yet, but it's supposedly better. And now the prizes are actually going to top 8 instead of just top 4. So, I mean, that's kind of nice too. Although these events are always going to be huge, so it's not like that's that much easier for the average person to go and get. Even so, definitely worth checking out. So that, I think, was about all I had to talk about. Today, I am going to be a guest on Popgun's stream. And we're going to be chatting about a whole bunch of stuff, including, we'll talk a little bit more about the update, but we'll talk about the general state of the game. We'll talk about the channel. There's a bunch of stuff to talk about there. And so I am going to raid over to Popgun's stream, but you will see me there very shortly, because I'm going to, be on it in the near future there. And this is the Popcast. For those who don't know, this is a stream where Popgun talks about current events in the Splatoon community from the perspective of a TO and organizer. Really good way to keep track of exactly what the competitive scene is currently doing. So let's go and pay Popgun a visit. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you on the other side.